Hello, friends, and welcome back to Ghouls Night In, the spooky chat show with your best ghoul friends. I'm Penny Snark.
And I'm Midge Munster.
I don't know if you've heard about this, Midge, but rumor has it that the juice is loose once again.
It does seem, now that you say something, that I do remember hearing something about there being like a new movie or like something was happening.
So, something like that. Just something. It's been very subtle, kind of underground.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
not super interested, so
yes, we are talking to you all today about Beetlejuice 2, the new juice out in theaters right now. And this is just, I mean, this is something that we've had a lot of people asking us about, and we were kind of like, you know what, let's do the thing and let's cosplay as a movie podcast
yeah, right.
uh, for today. And we're just going to talk about it. So I mean, this is going to be a full spoiler discussion, I assume.
Yeah, we're gonna get into it. So
We're going to get into it. So if you have not seen it and do not want to be spoiled, turn away now, maybe go back and listen to our episode Scared Sheetless about the original Beetlejuice. um,
yes,
Otherwise, if you want to know, if you want the down and dirty, the true facts, what we thought about this movie, you're here, and we're gonna get into it.
yeah. I thought it was funny how many people last week we put out a thing that was like, "What do you think
Yes.
our episode's going to be about?" And everybody was like, "Beetlejuice." And we're like, "Oh, whoops."
Well,
So
it
now,
and
if you,
it almost was. We
it
considered
almost
it,
was.
but we did decide we wanted to give people like more time to see it in
Hmm.
theaters, and then it worked out because it was actually the X-Files day. So
Yes. So
it
it
all worked out, and we were
all
like,
worked
all right,
out.
Beetlejuice next time.
But if you were one of the people that was waiting on bated breath for Beetlejuice, the time has come.
The time has come. I mean, do we want to give overall impressions, or do we want to just start talking kind of through the movie and go
Yeah.
as we go? What are you thinking?
I feel like my overall impressions kind of take they're more complex than just like did I like it or did I not like it. So
Yeah.
I think we do have to kind of walk through the film a bit. Um I starting from the beginning, I will say I saw this movie twice.
Okay.
I
Yes.
saw it once at an early screening on Wednesday the like 11th, or no, sorry, the 4th, Wednesday the 4th, and then I saw it the night it like actually quote released on the 6th.
And I saw
And
it in between yours on the Thursday, like the night before release.
nice. So that first time that I saw it, um the first like 20 minutes of the movie, maybe in the first 30 minutes, I was sitting in the theater going, "Oh no, I'm gonna hate this." And I was very afraid.
Hmm.
Um, so the beginning, starting out in kind of, I don't know, like starting in a different location was challenging for me, I think.
Hmm.
Like we didn't start off really like in the world of the film, and I felt a little like, I don't know. I wish there had been like a moment of setup so that we weren't just suddenly in New York City. It felt
Yeah.
really weird to be in a Tim Burton film in the middle of New York City and like walking into a like a public restroom in a very like modern building just felt really weird to me.
Yeah.
I will say one of the things I loved, Lydia here being kind of a paranormal expert
Hmm.
and our show being called Ghost House, which is an Easter egg for the original film, for Warner Brothers wanting to call the first movie Ghost House. I thought that was very fun.
Yeah. Agreed. Yeah. Yeah. I guess I now. So I did only see it the once, so I maybe
Yeah.
have like a less featured memory of it, but I do like, I was like, okay, like, Lydia as kind of like this paranormal figure. Okay, like that's cool, like that makes sense to me.
Mhm.
um, for the kind of the world of it. I definitely agree that like the vibe was very weird to be
Yeah,
in kind of this like Tim Burton, very like modern. But I mean, I guess I will possibly they were like, okay, we're going to start in kind of like this different world and then sort of take you back. Um, I do feel like a lot of the human world stuff in general just didn't feel super congruous with like the
I agree.
vibes. Like I think they did a lot of fun stuff in the afterlife scenes, which I'm sure we'll talk about. But the real world, it did feel just like it felt so modern and so slick that I was kind of like, is this right?
Yeah, and then, of course, with Tim Burton, he just doesn't do anything on accident.
Hmm.
So then I'm like, "Okay, well, I wonder, like, is that feeling of displacement or, like, not feeling it quite right, I guess, is that purposeful?" Because he does talk a lot in interviews about how Lydia was a very personal character to him,
Hmm.
and then he talked in an interview for this film about, like, what does it look like when you're that weird kid and you grow up?
Yeah.
And how does that feel when you're like in the real world and you have relationships and children and what have you? So I'm like, I don't know, maybe that's a purposeful choice to make us feel kind of uncomfortable at first. Like, I don't
Yeah.
recognize this place or this space. It doesn't feel like how I remember. I mean, that is unfortunately the adult experience of
Right.
revisiting
True.
nostalgia. You're like, wait, I remember this being better than it was. Um, but anywho, uh, we get to see Delia pretty upfront, which is very exciting. I think Catherine O'Hara is the meat and potatoes of this film.
Yeah, I was gonna say like she is the true standout of the movie. Like
Yes.
she is the character that 100% feels like this just continued evolving from the original movie. Like this is the same person, and she is just I mean, Catherine O'Hara is always an absolute delight, but like as I was watching it, I was like, yes, this is why Delia is iconic. I'm sure people will continue. Like, I was like, these are the things that people are going to quote from this movie.
Right.
Like, and
And
she is just a delight.
there's so many people saying like, yeah, she was a lot more like Moira this time around. And I think that's so funny to me because I'm like, Delia was Moira before Moira
Yeah,
was Moira.
yeah.
Like Delia I don't know, y'all. Go back and watch the first movie if you don't believe me. Like
Right, I was
Delia.
gonna say I watched because I had watched the first movie like the week before, like
Uh-huh.
in prep, of course, and so it was like really easy to compare, and I was like, yeah, this is Delia.
Yeah. Yeah, so good. Also we have to talk about since we've hit the point we learned that Charles has passed away.
Yes, yes,
Though it wasn't my favorite aspect of the film, the way that they handled this
yeah,
was so funny. Um, for anyone who somehow is in the dark still about this, our actor who played Charles Deeds in the original film has done some very unsavory things and
yes.
therefore could not be used.
Was not invited back.
Absolutely not. Yeah. Big bad. I'll let you do your own research
Yeah,
if you want to know more. But a lot of people was like, "Oh, he died." And I was like, "No, he's the
no.
worst." But so yeah, using I mean, here Burton has a moment to play with his claymation. We get this little like plane scene
Hmm.
detailing what happened to him, which was a little jarring, is a little out of place to me, but
Yeah.
also it's Tim, so, whatever. Um, but then when we actually see Charles in the afterlife, he's of course been bitten in half by a shark, and
Yes.
that's how they got around using an actor without
Yes.
using the actor. Clever, I will say.
Yes.
Uh, but finally, we get our return to Wish River because we're going back for Charles's funeral.
Yes.
Um,
And we are
m-
introduced
meet
to the Janet
Astrid.
Ortega character,
Hmm.
Astrid, who Jen I like Jen Ortega a lot. I think that she was just not given anything to do in this movie, is my
I
opinion. I
yeah,
don't know what you feel.
I'm gonna I'm gonna state my big opinion up
Yeah.
front, and this is gonna continue through the rest of this conversation. I could have done without every single new character in this film.
Yes.
I
Agreed.
and I will say that I think the actors did a
Yes.
great job
Mhm.
with what they
Agreed.
were given. Um, but what they were given to me did not make sense within the world that was already established in the first film.
Yeah, and okay, so I have to just go in with kind of my overall thought right now because this is going to
Let's talk about it because I know
color
it's going to be the same thing.
this
We're
is
gonna
going to color everything that we talk about, which is
uh-huh.
that I feel like everyone got together and was like, let's have a brainstorming session and make a list of things we could do in a Beetlejuice sequel.
Hmm.
And once you do that, what you should do is then say, okay, here are two or three things that would be the best things and that we can really develop and play with. And instead, they were like, put them all in there. Let's just put it all in there. And it
So
just
many
means that
plot lines.
nothing, like, there are so many plot lines, nothing gets enough attention.
Nope.
Like, you could fully axe any of the plot lines and they would have zero bearing on how the movie progressed. Like if Astrid
Yeah.
did not exist, you could have exactly the same movie just without Astrid.
Yep. 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 Um, I completely agree with that. Uh, I respect wanting to like if because Tim Burton and Michael Keaton were both so adamant for so many years that they would never do a sequel to this film.
Yes.
So I understand if you're gonna do it, wanting to come back and just like have fun. I
Hmm.
I get that. And that's what it feels like. It feels like Tim Burton called all of his friends and was like, let's just have a great time, which I don't hate. But
Yeah,
I
it
there
it
was
leads.
too much going on.
Yeah,
And
it really leads to, like, there are scenes that are great and are super fun. It does not work as a film. It's not a cohesive movie.
I
Is
unfortunately
my
agree.
opinion.
Yeah, I unfortunately agree. And since we're in the new character, this is spinning off of
Yes.
Astrid. I also just upfront want to say because I did not dislike this film. I don't want to like I don't want y'all coming into
Yeah.
this and us being like we're just going to shit on it for an hour. Like
No, no.
that's not the intent here. But I do have to be honest about like how I really felt about it because we
Yeah,
waited
and
for this for almost 40 years.
exactly, and it's one of those things where it's like, yes, I had it just makes me sad because I was like, yes, I had fun while I was watching it, but I think that there were nuggets of a really good movie, and I think that if it had just been edited back,
Yeah.
it could have been a movie I was really excited to, like,
Yeah, I agree.
rewatch, and now I'm kinda like, "Okay, well, this bit was great and this bit was great," but just altogether, it just makes me sad for, like you said, like you have to have new characters in a sequel, and if we
Absolutely.
had just done one or two new characters and really like focused
Fleshed
on
them
them
out.
and
Yeah.
made them really integrated into the story, it would have been great, and you could have saved the other people for your Beetlejuice 3 or whatever. But
Yeah.
like as it is now, I'm kind of like, whoa, like we just did all this stuff
Yeah.
and where it didn't really build to anything.
Yeah, I agree. My other problem with the new characters, specifically where Jenna Ortega, Astrid, and Justin Theroux,
Mhm.
Rory, are concerned, is to me, these characters completely undermined the character of Lydia Dietz as we know her.
Yes.
I don't understand a world where that brazen, like, kick ass young woman turns into a codependent, like, pushover of a person with like nothing going
Right?
on. and,
Right?
and
I
I hate to say it because I love her with my whole heart. Winona was just playing Winona.
yeah.
This was not Lydia to me, unfortunately. And again, I don't hate it because I love Winona Ryder, but I was like, oh, this is Joyce Byers playing Winona Ryder playing Lydia Dietz. Uh, it was just very like, I don't know, like such a soft performance to me, and I just didn't make sense given what we've the previous information we've been given about this character. Which, granted, I understand she's an adult now, and 30 years have passed.
Right, but they also didn't give us any because at first I was
Right,
like,
like what happened to her? Why is
and
she like this?
also it could, because I was ready to be like, oh, like she experienced extreme grief from Astrid's father's death and this has changed her. And then it's like, oh no,
No, she
actually
doesn't care.
no big deal. We were already broken up. Like, sucks that he's dead, but sure. And I was like, oh, okay, so it's not that. And
Yeah.
I also, this is just going to be one of my pet peeves probably, and I understand the desire to tell like a generational story, but I hate
Mhm.
the idea that every female character has to have
Has
a
to have a dog.
child in the future.
It
And I'm
doesn't
just
make sense to me
it
that she would be a mom.
no, I was like, why? Like, there was, especially because they ended up not giving Astrid a lot to do in the movie apart
Right.
from be like a damsel in distress. Um, and I'm just like, why did she even have a kid? Like, this movie didn't have like Beetlejuice isn't about like motherhood.
Right.
So like it wasn't like thematically like, oh, it makes sense that this is about this. I was just kind of like, you could have gotten rid of that, and like maybe you could have kept like Rory just as like a sleazy producer type,
Mhm.
like not necessarily like he could have been like the Otho of the
Right,
movie,
right.
and not saying that he had to be gay. I'm I just realized that kind of sounds like that. I just mean like like he could have been like sniffing after her and her kind of being like, whatever, like I'm doing this, but sure, like you're my manager, you're trying to, keep my show going. Like,
Mhm.
I think that would have been just as effective. They really just wanted to have some reason for there to be a wedding related plot line so they could do a wedding scene
Right.
at the end, which like you already introduced that then with Dolores as being a wedding related thing, and you could have spun off on that. So it just kind of felt like, okay.
Which I spent the whole movie being like, which again, Monica, hot, beautiful,
Yes.
stunning, great character design, beautiful costume design. Colleen Atwood. I mean,
Oh, stunning.
Colleen Atwood. Um, but I spent the whole movie being like, why is she here? Like,
Right?
what is
Doing
what is
literally nothing,
what
just
is her
stalking around,
objective?
being
Yeah.
dramatic, like,
And
which
they didn't
slay,
even
but
give
what is she doing?
they didn't even give us enough for us to care if she found Beetlejuice or not, because we don't
No.
really understand. Like, they gave us the backstory, but it wasn't it was slapped together. So, but then I didn't know this until after I saw it the first time that's Tim
Oh
Burton's new
yeah.
partner.
Oh
Had
yeah.
no idea. So I was like, "Oh, well now it makes perfect sense."
Right.
He was like,
The Tim Burton slash Rob Zombie
"Rob
curse of
Zombie,
I
yeah.
gotta put my girlfriend in my
Gotta
movie.
gotta put my hot girl in." Which, I mean, if Tim Burton invited me to walk around and be hot for 10 minutes in his movie, yeah, I'm gonna do it.
Ugh, I would not. If he was my boyfriend, I would say, write me a better fucking part, Tim. You want me to show up and put on this gorgeous gown? I better have some good shit to do in this movie.
I think that her literally only line was, "Where is Beetlejuice?" And she
Yeah.
said it 3 separate times. What? Anyway, um, I I had this. I'm gonna kind of wrap on this Astrid
Yes.
Rory situation, and then we can move forward. But I had the realization, because I agree with you about like not every adult female character has to be a mother. Um, and I watched the movie the first time, and I was like, I didn't love it. Like, I liked it. I had fun. I had fun. That's
Yeah.
the key term. I had fun. I don't know what I would have done differently. And then I went home and I like meditated on it, and I was like, I actually know exactly what I would have done differently. So now everyone close your eyes and come with
All
me
right.
for
I'm ready.
Midge's dream sequel. I wish they would have, because the most compelling parts of this movie were Delia's like journey through the grief of losing Charles, and then the dynamic of Lydia being back with Beetlejuice as an adult woman.
Mhm.
We didn't get enough of them as a duo at all. I
Yeah.
felt like, and I understand them wanting to keep the Beetlejuice appearance time to a minimum. They were trying to
You
preserve
don't
that
want the
same.
juice to be too loose.
You don't want it to.
You gotta contain the juice a little bit,
Yeah, it can't
Midge.
just be everywhere. So I understand that, but we saw a lot of him
We
outside
did.
of that, and I would have liked to have seen more of them together. And like, if we're gonna give Lydia a story here, how about like, hey, asswipe, remember when you tried to marry me when I was 15 years old? like,
Right?
like let's confront that. Let's do something. Anyway, dream sequel. Charles still is dead.
Mhm.
Top of the movie. We go back to Winter River because they're going to sell the house. They sell the house at the top of the movie. We bring Jane
Mhm.
Butterfield in because I thought that was fun.
Yeah.
We sell the house. We have a new family move in. These are our new characters. New family moves into the house. And then Lydia, as our still paranormal expert, has to come in and help the new family get rid of Beetlejuice because they're having all kinds of issues.
That's fun. I like that.
That, I think we just would have seen more of the established, like, like if we're gonna have somebody chasing Beetlejuice, let's have it be Lydia.
Right? And so I like that your dream sequel is like slightly different from what I had imagined,
Oh yeah,
which
share with
I
me.
was kind of like, what if we did like a full swap? Because I feel like they obviously the team who worked on this were having so much fun with the afterlife scenes,
And so was
created
I.
so much good stuff. And I'm like, what if the movie was mostly based in the afterlife?
Yeah.
Lydia goes in there first thing in the movie. We're running around. We occasionally have like drops back into reality,
Mm-hmm.
but like it's primarily that because I feel like then you could have gone like really big with a lot of things and you didn't have to worry too much about like the logic of what kind of the real world would be
Yes.
like, and you could have just played around a lot and it would have felt extremely distinct from the first movie. You wouldn't be like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, we're not like retreading things,
Yeah.
but it would have felt very spiritually like a follow-up to the
Yeah.
movie.
Yes. And that's, I completely agree. In my head, which I did not say that. I did not communicate that well. Yeah, when she like has to get, if she had to go to the house to get rid of him, she would like immediately like follow him into the afterlife and like
Yes.
chase him down, and we'd spend, because that was the successful part of this film.
Yes.
The afterlife was so fun. We do not, I mean, we do spend some time there in the first movie, but not
Yeah,
as
only
much as we do
glimpses.
here.
Yeah.
Um, my favorite part about rewatching this the second time was like looking in the background
Yeah.
and like seeing all the different extras and trying to like piece together how they died. Because there's a lot of just fun. What a fun job to be
Right.
Colleen and team having to like design these characters. I mean, obviously, I'm sure Tim Burton has a huge part in that too, but um, so the Santa character really
Yeah.
made me laugh. I thought that was really funny.
That was super fun.
Uh,
And I like as we talk about new characters, I thought Willem Dafoe was really funny.
why-
He was
yes, but
so
again,
funny, but it was
why
like,
was he there?
but what was he doing?
What was he doing?
What was he
What?
and like if this was like, oh, it's kind of like a quirky noir set in the afterlife,
Yeah.
he would have made more sense because he would have been we would have been running around. It's like, oh, this detective is like maybe also pursuing Beetlejuice through the
Or yeah,
afterlife.
like open with that scene. Open with
Yeah,
him doing like a noir monologue about this vigilante, like, or the, the juice has been loose for all these years and we've
exactly.
been looking for him and we haven't been able to find him. Like, yeah, do something with that character. Cause yeah, Willem Dafoe played it hysterically.
Right. I would like he is definitely like emblematic of like this movie is fun, but it doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Wished
Like,
he
I was
either
having a hoot
wasn't there.
watching him the whole time. I was like, "You're great," and then I'm like, "You had nothing to do with anything, but you're really cool, I guess."
Again, and that yeah, him in particular was who was on my mind when I was like, Tim just called his buddy
Yes.
and said, "Let's make a
Let's
movie."
make a Beetlejuice.
Um, yeah, I wished he either just wasn't there at all or that he was a lead. Like, it needed
Yes.
to be one of the 2
Mhm.
because it felt so many of these things felt unfinished because even I would argue that, like, quote, one of our main plot lines is Astrid and this ghost boyfriend,
Yes. Oh my god, the ghost
which,
boyfriend.
I didn't hate that, to be honest. We by the time we finally got that information, I was like, "Oh, thank God something's happening."
See,
Because
from the
up
beginning, I was like, "This boy is dead."
I knew something was up. I was like, "Okay, something's weird because we're not seeing the parents' faces." He makes comments about they won't even notice. Like, I thought maybe they were dead and I didn't know for sure who was
Yeah.
dead, but I was like, "Something's up." Um, but that was about the point where I was like, "Oh, thank goodness. I've been fine, but I'm certainly not having what I would call a great time yet."
Yeah.
Um, so around, of
A
course, when they
plot is
finally
happening.
yeah, when they finally go to the afterlife, I was like, "Oh, thank God." Um, but then we reach the, like, quote, "climax" of that plot line, and we just, like, dump it to Crumpet, like, we
Yep.
trapdoor him to hell, and it feels so just like like, "Okay,
Right?
bloop."
Like, "Alright, check.
Yeah, like,
That's
"Okay,
done."
that one's wrapped up." Yeah, everything just feels kinda, like, thrown away at the end. Like, the things that you did take the time to actually set up don't go anywhere.
Yeah, and I don't know. I was like, I'm not opposed to this concept. Like, I could be into this, but it just felt like there were like several pretty fair, not super exciting scenes
Yeah.
of Astrid and this boy. And then at the very whatever, they're like, oh, actually, he's like a psychopathic murderer. And I'm like, well, okay.
Well,
Like,
alright then.
sure. And but also Lydia drops her off and the lights are on in a house that no one has lived in for 20 years. Like, what? Like, I was just like, this was a time to like add some like creepy foreshadowing and be like, "Ooh,
Right.
the lights are off. Oh, they must be really leaning into this Halloween spooky vibe or something, or oh, they maybe they hate
Mhm.
trick or treaters." And I do also have to say that Astrid's dad was such a huge nothing burger
Oh,
that
yeah. Didn't
they
care.
they were like all like and it was they made such a point to be like Lydia can't see him. Lydia can't
N
see him. What's
never
going
ex
on? Blah
never
blah. And then and I was like, "Oh, okay, like is it because he works is it because he's in limbo? He's working here and he does not exist in either the living or the dead world and that's why he can't come through." And then he's like, "Oh, I watch you guys all the time and you can't see me." And everyone's just like, "Okay." And no further investigation into this. Also, Astrid can see ghosts. So what about all these times that like Lydia, we see Lydia seeing like, random like stabbed and dead
Uh-huh.
people around. I'm like, so has this never happened to Astrid?
Yeah, there were a lot of unaddressed questions, and also the implication is that all the, like, people who are workers in the afterlife are people who have taken their own lives as a rule. So then why would her
Yeah.
father who
Who got attacked
drowned
by piranhas, I
Yeah, like
guess.
well, yeah, I guess my thought was that his boat sank or he
Yeah,
drowned and
yeah.
then he got eaten later, but, like so yeah, why is he there? I don't know, there's I would have cared if we had space for that plot line, but we
Exactly,
didn't.
right? It's like just because it's one of those things where like as I was watching it, I was like, I feel like there was a scene that got cut for time. that was
Yeah.
gonna make me care about this, but because it
Yes.
was like we had to put 500 things in here, we don't have any time for it. So we have to have an extremely long MacArthur Park moment
Which, to be
later.
fair, I won't complain for a second about
No.
that.
It, I
That
I
could have
did
been
enjoy it. That
they
was
could have
that
released that one time scene as the movie, and I would have been like, "I'm good. I'm great.
yeah,
That's all I needed."
ugh,
Uh, but yeah, I overall, this whole middle section felt rushed and simultaneously rushed and too long,
yeah.
and I don't know. I didn't hate it. I never thought I would get this movie at all. So I had like a generally okay time, and most of the afterlife stuff was fun. Um but oh, back to Astrid and the boyfriend too. I'm just so like uninterested in seeing romance in a Beetlejuice film,
I
and
know.
I know that they were like building it up to this, reveal. Um but I just was like, ugh. I don't
Yeah.
I don't want cutesy like
Great
teenage
teen romance.
romance in this movie. Like, I know we're trying to appeal to Gen Z and whoever is under them, alpha. Um but like the people you're making this movie for are in their like 30s, 40s and 50s.
Right.
We don't we're not I don't
Yeah. We don't need a teen romance plot line.
uh-uh. No, I want to see Lydia Dietz fuck shit up.
Yes.
I want to
I,
see
I
vigilante Lydia Dietz in the afterlife.
right. I will say that overall I really enjoyed the Beetlejuice moments of
Oh,
Beetlejuice. Like
absolutely.
100% still got it. So funny. Just like really and like I loved I love seeing Beetlejuice in like these like kind of just because we see him, pop up and doing crazy stuff in the first movie, like the kind of mundanity of like
His mundane
Beetlejuice has to
corporate
have a
environment.
job now, and he's hanging out with he's like the manager, like talking to all these guys, and I'm like, this is so weird, and I like this part.
Yeah, I did like that. And again, not that they have to sit and explain everything to us, but if we're going to get all this exposition about all these other things I don't necessarily care about, how did we get here?
I
He
know,
survived Sandworm, question mark. How did he get back? How has he like acquired this job, and how is he being allowed to do it, because he
right?
was very specifically not supposed to do it for the whole first film. Like,
Right, yeah, because I was like, okay, because like in the first film, like Juno says that Beetlejuice used to work for her and like used
right,
to work in
be a
caseworkers. So I guess
caseworker.
I was just kind of like, I guess he showed up and is like one of those guys who's like so charming that he can talk his way back into something. And he was like, give me a job, you guys. So,
But it
yeah,
seems
that was
he's like
something where I
the
was
head
like,
of a department now,
right.
and I'm like,
That was
he's
one thing that I was
notoriously not a
willing to
good
be
guy.
like Beetlejuice like the original movie is also very chaotic and
Yeah,
doesn't make a ton of sense. So that was one thing where I was
no,
like,
sure.
all right, I'll just accept that Beetlejuice is in charge of this like this office right now.
He said, yeah, seems legit, that's fine.
Sure.
Uh, I have to, because we're talking about him having a job, I have to read to you my favorite um what is it called, letterboxed
Ooh,
review
yes.
of this movie. I saved, it was this person being like, here we go, 3.5 stars. People need to stop hiring Beetlejuice. He's untrustworthy and frankly a troublemaker.
So true. So true. But also like what you were saying before about like the Lydia and the Beetlejuice like connection is
Mhm.
just like so much more interesting and like I love like the update of like the dating app ads
Oh
being
my
like
gosh, yeah, I
twisting
did
at her
like the,
if they really played in that space and was kind of
like,
like
what does haunting look like in
right
2024?
what does haunting look like in 2024 and also like if instead of being like Lydia is this changed kind of version of herself who's got this, grody boyfriend. Like, what if instead she's a rad single lady, adult lady who's just like, dating's the pits. And you could have played so much with the idea of like dating as an adult sucking, with it being like, look, what if one of your options is just Beetlejuice? And you're like, actually, that maybe is not worse than any of the other men on Tinder.
Yes, yes. I controversial opinion. I'm like, I'm here for a world where maybe they are together.
Mm-hmm.
As
Controversial yet brave, Midgery.
now that she's a legal adult,
Yeah.
maybe they not even romantically. I'm like, maybe they're a team. I don't know. Maybe
Right. I
they're
mean, I feel like all of us who were like, had like the Beetlejuice cartoon were like, but they're kind of buds, right?
yeah, and I'm like, especially if like she can see ghosts and he's trying to like help people exorcise the living, like there's something there about them either having like rivalry businesses
Yes.
or doing something in tandem. I don't know. I'm like, I want to just see something more from that dynamic because they're both such fun characters.
Right. Also, I will say I understand why they wanted to go back to the house for the movie because it is
Mhm.
iconic. But I do always hate when sequels are like, just undo the previous movie. And like we get one line that's like, "Oh, we found a loophole and the Maitlands were able to move on." And I
Oh,
was
yeah.
like, that was the entire plot of your movie, was that they could not do this. And
Right.
now in one line you're like, "Lol, JK, it's fine."
JK LOL.
Like, I understand like not being able to get the people back or not even wanting to tell the same story again, but
Yeah.
like if they didn't go back to the house, that wouldn't have been an issue. Or if it was focused in the afterlife, I don't know. I always hate, that's like a big pet peeve of mine with sequels. And you
S-
get that so much with these like unplanned sequels where you're like,
Right.
well, we wrapped it up, so in order to do something, we gotta change something to move on here.
Speaking of which, I have a bone to pick.
Uh-oh.
Speaking of a line that undoes
Hmm.
the first movie, they're on the porch and they're talking about how
Yes.
Astrid
Yes.
blames Lydia for her dad's death. And Delia says, well, you blame me for your mom's. And then Lydia says, well, she's not dead.
Right.
I
What are you
said,
even
I'm
talking
I'm
about?
begging your pardon. That is the whole thing. And I know it's never explicitly said in the first movie, but the like whole implication is
Right.
that Lydia got weird and dark because her mom died and her dad remarried this crazy woman. Like
Right.
that's the
Yes.
whole
It's the whole
idea.
point.
And I understand again that the reason they did that is like, well, she can't go into the afterlife and us not address her like seeing her mom if her mom is dead, right? But I'm like, I would have rather seen that than her ex-husband that she apparently doesn't give a shit about.
Right. Oh
Uh,
my god. Yes. When that
that made
happened,
me
I was
angry. I whipped my head around to Taylor and I in the theater went, "What?"
Yeah, yeah, when they just, and also I'm like, so then, but so like Lydia's mom just is what? Just
It's
completely
just
out of her life and
like
like
yeah, living in LA somewhere like on a
like
beach.
right, I'm like,
And
you've added so many more questions as to like all of the dynamics here by just being like, lol, she's alive. Like, what are you talking
And
about?
again, we're just like pulling at this thread of Lydia's like entire everything that makes her the character we understand her to be
Yeah.
unraveling. And I that made I got angry. I was like, "Now listen.
Now listen here,
I
Bunny.
have one understanding, especially because multiple times throughout the movie, Tim and Fam are obviously very aware of the impact that the musical has had on pop
Mm-hmm.
culture.
Yeah.
So, like them calling him Mr. Juice in the movie. There was another bit where I was like, okay, they're clearly like giving us these little nuggets for people who are also fans of the
Yeah.
musical who they know are going to come see this movie. So
I
I'm like,
know
"Okay,
when that
yeah,
line happened, I was like, "Do they hate the musical? Like, are they like, that was my thought. I
the
was like, "Are
song
they
is called Dead
I was like,
Mom!"
"Are they specifically trying to be like, hey, we're not the musical. We're totally different." Because
We're not
it was just so out
we're
of
not like
pocket.
other Beetlejuices. Yeah, I was like, "We didn't even need that line. You purposefully
No.
put that in there to bamboozle me, and I feel I feel angry about it." Yeah, because again, I know it's not explicitly said, but then the musical like doubles down on that so hard because we all assumed that.
Yes.
And
That
I
is
am
what makes sense.
yeah. Anywho, that was my main line where I was like, "What the absolute hell are you speaking of?"
Right. Also, it also makes it just insane for Lydia's dad to call Delia her mom if her mom is still alive.
Right.
Like, in the first movie, he's like, "Oh, your mother, blah, 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 blah." Like, what?
Yeah, I'm like,
Like,
"What?"
that's bad enough when it's, like, the new wife, but, like, her mom is just still alive, and you're
Yeah, like,
just
"What did
like,
this
"Ugh."
woman do to you that you are
Yeah.
so, like, bent?" Yeah, that really, really bothered me. But anywho, there's the whole middle chunk of the movie.
Yep.
It's a lot of information, and then
And what is it all building towards, Mitch?
it's all building towards a wedding. Um, Supposedly also, again, we have this whole thing about Rory, like, ordering her the options for these
Right?
vintage wedding dresses from a shop she loves in Soho or some shit, and then we never get to see them.
No.
It's like, why even put that line in there if I'm
Right?
not gonna get to see Lydia in, like, 5 insane vintage Victorian, like, wedding dresses? That's what I came to this theater here today to see.
Truly.
But we are supposedly going to have Rory and Lydia's wedding. We come out of the crypt after hugging our dad goodbye because it's soup's casual. We're just like,
Super
"Bye,
casual.
dad. See
Thanks,
you
man.
later. Thanks for saving my soul." Um,
Okay,
and
I will say we can't skip over this without saying that the Soul Train is very funny. I love
the
the
Soul
Soul
Train's
Train.
super fun.
That was very funny. That was
Super
very
fun. I did overall like the, like, disco vibe of this film because,
Yes.
obviously, film 1, almost all the music is Harry Belafonte.
Mhm.
Um, this was not one specific artist, but it was definitely, like, in one time
Genre, yeah.
yeah, time era, and that was really fun just because 'cause I'm a little, like, slut for disco.
Same.
Yeah, Soul Train's very fun. So we get to the wedding, and, of course, there's a crazy demon there trying to sabotage everything. It's so
Like you
wild.
do. Oh, and also another character who has no point, Burn Gorman of Torchwood as an
Is this the
alcoholic
priest?
priest
Yeah.
who gets so many recurring bits, and
So
I'm
much
just
screen
and then
time,
did
yeah.
not do anything, and I was like, "What is this?"
Though one of my favorite parts in the movie is at the beginning after Charles' service, and he, like, gives this whole spiel about, like, crossing over and how, like, his soul is safe or whatever, and then Delia just goes, "What?" I was like, she's just I love her. I love her
Yes.
so much.
Yeah, and I'm
Um,
like, you had to have, like, a priest character, but like, that was funny,
he
and he was
didn't have
funny
to
in it,
be a
but it
whole
was just
thing, though.
random that he, like, showed up again with, like, Rory in the middle, and I was like, "This did not
Oh,
we
yeah,
didn't
like, picked
need
him up
this."
in the car? What was
Yeah,
that
it just made
about?
it seem I'm just like, "This man is not important to this
And he,
movie."
like something specific was happening with, like, the seatbelt in his car, like, they made a deal about it, but I didn't understand what the joke was. Yeah, that was bizarre, unless that was, like I don't know. Anyway,
Anyway.
um oh, we also skipped over another huge plot point, which is that Delia's dead,
Oh, yeah. Oh,
which
yeah,
a
R.I.P.
lot of people hated this. I liked it.
Yeah, I didn't mind it.
I liked getting to see Delia in the afterlife because that was funny. Um, and I felt that to me, her death scene made a lot of sense to how I feel that she would go out.
Yes. Yes, I did. I liked that, and, I mean, this is the other thing where it's like, this was a ca this is one of the only times that a character like actually like kind of has an arc in the movie.
Yeah,
And it's
yeah.
like, all right, you know, she's sad
Her
about
story
Charles's
had
death.
a
She
yeah.
misses him. She's having all of this mourning and grief ritual stuff. And then in the end, they are reunited in the afterlife. Like,
Yeah,
sure,
hers had
that works for
a
me.
definitive beginning, middle, and end, which
Yes.
I think was, yeah, probably why I cared most about. I mean, also I just freaking love Delia Deets, but
Yes. Also, I do have to say, the Charles's gravestone is a
it's a
fucking
shark
shark
fin.
fin. Like what? We've talked about some wild grave markers and things on this show, Midge, but being like, oh, I know you have. We talk all the time. Your defining features that you love bird watching,
I
but we're
know.
gonna make your tombstone a shark fin because you got murdered by one. Like what?
I didn't even notice it. I was like, oh, Delia made some like glass sculpture or
Yeah.
something. And then Taylor was the one who he was like, I thought it was wild that the dad's tombstone was a
Yeah.
shark fin. And I was like, wait, what? Oh, yeah, that was unhinged. But yeah, so we're at the wedding. Beetlejuice is Beetlejuicing. Again, we do get a fun moment of like, what does haunting with technology look like with
Yes.
all these influencers present and getting sucked into their phones? That was kind of fun. And then we get like a 24-hour long wedding dream sequence, underscored with MacArthur Park, which right out the gate, A+ song choice. I was
Yes.
so excited when this song I love this song, and I was so happy when it started. Um, this could have been about half the length that it was.
Yeah. Yeah.
However, I had fun the entire time.
Yes, it was very entertaining. It was a good time. I also love MacArthur Park, an absolutely bizarre song, so it was
Mhm.
perfect for this. But it dragged a bit. I was like, all right, I get it.
I get it.
I
We're
get it.
we're lip syncing. Um, yeah, again, it falls into that trap of trying to recreate the magic of something from an original film. Um, it was fun, but it's no dinner party scene.
Yeah.
But there is food that is doing something. the, cake,
This is
the
true.
cake is raining,
It's
um,
raining.
and we. This also though, what happened to Beetlejuice, Penny? Explain it to me like I'm 5 because I don't understand how he ended up popping question mark.
I have no idea.
And then Willem Dafoe's like zinger line is you popped his Beetlejuice.
Right? I was like, what? What?
I was like, what is happening? Did I take acid before I came in? I don't remember.
Yeah, yeah, that I didn't really get what was going on there.
Because she said his name 3
Right?
times, and instead of it putting him back, he popped.
I
I don't
guess.
I don't know. Chaos. We take a moment to acknowledge Delia's dead and she's going back to the afterlife. They're gonna sue them for the snakes. We get a mate. That was also, I was like, here they just found out Delia's dead. There's like no emotion behind this
No.
scene at all.
No.
I'm like, you've now lost both of your parental figures in the span of like 24 hours, Lydia. I mean, I guess they can both see ghosts, so maybe they're like, death isn't permanent and everything's fine.
Right,
But
but, like, it would have been nice to indicate that if
yeah, I
that
don't
was the case,
I
which
don't think they even like hug her or
no,
anything.
I don't think
Like it's
so.
very like dry. They're like, "Oh damn, that's crazy." Anyway,
Right?
we'll see you when we get there.
Right? They're just like, "Ah, man, snakes, huh? Sucks."
Wild. Um and that's and then we get
And
the
then
weirdest ending to a film.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and then we get an extended sequence where
Montage.
Lydia takes Astrid on the adventures that Astrid always wanted to go on with her dad. So, all right, we've, bonded. We're moving on. They go to Dracula's castle where Astrid falls in love with a dude who's dressed as Dracula, which relatable.
Yeah,
Same.
same.
I was like, sweet, get it, girl. We have a whole montage of her getting married and having a baby, and it is the baby Beetlejuice,
Yeah.
which goes crazy and crawls around. And oh shit, it was a dream. But Lydia's in bed with Beetlejuice. But oh shit, that was also a dream. What? Question mark, question mark? Movie.
Yeah, I will say I had a moment where they started the montage and I was like, "Oh, this is like really sincere for Tim
Yeah.
Burton. I
Yeah.
don't think I like this." So I'm glad they whipped it back to
Yeah.
absurdity and chaos, but also at the same time I was like, "What the hell? What is happening?"
Yeah.
And it, are they like they very clearly set it up to have possibly a third, but then they've also been really like loud about this is the last one. I don't know. Overall, I left with more questions than answers.
Truly.
I had a fun time. We haven't really like I mean we kind of touched on the fact just Michael Keaton is so
So good.
freaking good. He
He's
is
so
so
funny.
funny. He is so like and it's so fun to watch him in interviews versus this character because
Yeah.
he's such a like he's so demure.
Yes.
He's very demure, very mindful. He's
Hmm.
such a demure person and he's like kind of awkward and kind of clams up in interviews a little and then watching him get to just like let loose in this character is so fun.
It is.
Um so like I'm thrilled because I never thought I'd get to see Michael Keaton put back on the
The
suit
Beetlejuice,
again.
yeah.
Yeah, like I'm thrilled I got that opportunity. I'm thrilled I got to see Catherine O'Hara play Delia again. Is this the movie we wanted? Eh.
Mm.
Is it okay? Yeah. Will I watch it again? Yeah. Will I watch it every
Yay.
time I watch Beetlejuice?
No.
No.
Yeah, I could see, I feel like this would be a really good, like, Halloween party movie where it's on in the
Right.
background and no
Yeah.
one's, like, super paying close attention, but you're
Yeah.
like, "Oh, yeah, haha, this part.
Right.
Cool."
I will
So it
say I
definitely has
like
that. It has lots of fun elements to it. Like, it is an enjoyable watch, but I'm like, you could have been better, kid. Like, there are so many places that I'm like, oh, with just like a little bit of like script editing, this could have been like really, really good.
yeah. And I think, part of that too is like the magic of the first movie is that it was made at a time where we didn't really have access to like
Yeah.
high quality filmmaking. So it has, and I mean, I think they did their best to keep that kind of handmade Burton-y quality to it. But the
Hmm.
fact is, just making it in the year of our Lord 2024, it's gonna have a polish and a level
Yeah.
to it that does not live in the world of the first film.
Yeah. Agreed.
Um, and like everybody's so hot now. I'm like, like Jenna Ortega is just so clearly like a movie star. Like I'm
Yeah.
watching the movie and I'm like, that's Jenna Ortega. I'm not like pulled into the world of the film and being like, oh, it's Astrid Dietz.
Hmm.
Like, no,
No.
that's a Hollywood movie star. Um, so it's fine. I liked it better than Hocus Pocus too, I will say. If I had to
Yes.
pick a sequel of Halloween movies, I would pick this one every time.
I would agree with that.
Speaking of which, we talked about Hocus Pocus
Yeah.
over on Girl That's Scary podcast. Be sure to go listen to us over there talk with Jazz and Kat about the original and the sequel because that was a really fun time that we had.
Yes, that was a hoot.
Well, we popped that Beetlejuice,
We did pop that Beetlejuice.
and we maybe popped some of your bubbles about your excitement for this film, and for that we are sorry. Again, I don't think there's anything like inherently wrong with this film. If you loved it, I'm so happy you loved it.
Yeah.
Um, I had fun. I'm glad it exists. But it I I said something to Taylor about, I was like, man, I feel like the day after our wedding, where like you wait forever for this like one
Yeah.
really big event and then it happens, and I watched it and I got home and I was like, now what?
It's done.
It's over, and now I'll never see it for the first time again. And now like I know what it's about and I don't like it.
It's true. It's true.
Anywho.
Anywho. Well, friends, we hope that you enjoyed this episode and hearing all of our thoughts, whether you agreed with them or not. So let us know on our post what you think about the movie. We won't put any spoilers like in the comments and stuff.
Yeah.
So try to avoid that. But let us know what you thought. If you were glad that the juice was loose again, if you think there should be a Beetlejuice.
I can't believe you said that.
Looking behind me. Oh, no luck.
Oh no, I hope a big
No.
sexy demon
I
doesn't pop up
I hope it
behind me.
I'm that is I mean that is the true fact, is that like I think Beetlejuice is extremely sexy
Hard same.
because he's disgusting. So I'm
I
like,
said this at a craft
please.
night with a bunch of like normal women the other night.
Oh no.
We were watching Beetlejuice and I was like, ah, he's so hot. And they were like, ew. And I was like, yeah, ew.
Exactly.
That is so great. Why? I was joking, you guys.
Totally, right? We all hate a big, nasty man with moss growing off of him.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
gross. Listen, a man that can make me laugh. That's all I'm after.
it's true. Oh my gosh. Oh, and for anyone who hasn't seen, we released some new merch.
Yeah.
We were celebrating in honor of our third birthday. We released some Ghoul School merch.
Go
All of the things
school.
you need to go back to school: water bottles, tote bags, notebooks, patches, embroidered patches and hats, which are so cool. All emblazoned with Ghoul School, because we love hearing how you guys like to learn and find fun facts from our pod. So thanks for all being members of our Ghoul School. And if you would like to rep it on your clothing, you can do so at midgemunster.com/shop.
Yeah, I'm actually 99% sure that that phrase came from a review. Somebody said I went to Ghoul School, and that was like a year ago, and I was like, we gotta do Ghoul School merch.
Yeah.
That's so great.
Hell yeah.
So if that was your review, thank you.
Thank you. It makes me think of Scooby-Doo and the Ghoul School.
And yeah, of course.
Classics.
Yeah.
Classic rhymes. Do you have a review, Midge? Otherwise,
I was
I
gonna
do
say,
have one that I can read.
yeah, speaking of reviews, we're still kind of fresh out on our Apple pods. So Penny,
It,
what do you got over there for
so it
us?
sounds like maybe Apple might be munching on some of our reviews.
Tell me what you mean by these words.
Because we did get a message on Instagram from someone who says he left 5-star Apple review a few weeks back and we have not seen it. We have not seen
What
it.
the heck,
Right.
Apple?
So I will share this. This is from Jonathan, aka Spooky Crap. Love it. Incredible
Slay.
username.
Yeah.
Who says, a few weeks back, I left a 5-star Apple review and just heard on the pod that you're out of reviews. Mine might have been abducted by aliens, or I'm just really bad at technology. Either way, here's the review I left. Do you enjoy listening to disembodied voices teach you about spooky crap? Have you ever written a book report for fun, only to force your family to listen to you present it?
Hey now.
Do you hate everything, but still really love learning about creepy things? Ghouls Night In is just that. As many other reviews have said, it's like sitting around and talking about spooky crap with your best friends. This is by far my favorite podcast, as I'm on my third listen through every episode.
Aww.
Keep up the good work, ghouls. He
Aww.
also notes that he knows 3 times is a lot, but he's a props master for a theater, and he listens to the pod while he's working. So That is awesome. Thank you so much, Jonathan.
Heck yeah. I love to make me some props. That's such a
Hell
cool job.
yeah.
I hope you get to make the cake from the end of Beetlejuice for some reason at some point
Yes.
in your.
That would be a fun prop to make.
That was the whole time I was watching that scene. I was like, man, this prop master had it. Just had the best time. I'm so happy for
Yes.
them.
Ah, all right. Well, thank you again, everyone, for tuning in. If you would like to follow along with the pod, you can find us at Ghouls Night In Pod on Instagram. And if you are looking for me, you can find me at Penny Snark.
And you can find me all over the web at Midge Munster.
And until next time,
Goodbye.
goodbye.